Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Market Down Podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by Chad Big Bad Johnson and James Gisante. A lot of news this week. A lot of this came out the day of recording, so we're still learning a few things, but when it rains, it pours. So we got a lot to talk about, so let's get right to it. And we start with the big news of this past Wednesday that Mandy Rose has been released by WWE following her loss of the NXT Women's Championship. Apparently, this happened because Rose refused to take down her BrandArmy page, which is a company and a site very similar to OnlyFans. And on that page, she has been posting more and more explicit content of late. Apparently, a bunch of this content leaked within the last few days, which drew a lot of attention to it, or at least a lot more than she previously had. And then, according to Fightful, WWE felt that they were put in a position that they needed to release her because of the explicit nature of the content, as it was outside the parameters of her contract. Now, obviously, in the past, WWE has prevented other talents from having other outside ventures, such as Twitch streams and OnlyFans sites. I remember this happened with Paige, for example, while she was still there. Zelina Vega as well. That was a big point of contention with her. So, James, I'll start with you here. This is obviously a really, really big and bold move by WWE doing this. She's, I don't want to say been spitting in their face, but she has been really towing the line with the fact that she had continued to have this site up and not only post content to it, but profit off it as well without WWE getting their cut. Because let's be real here, that's the real problem for them. But like I said, this is a very bold move for WWE to take by firing a very popular and I would say a pretty big star in terms of NXT immediately after losing the title.
Very prominent. She's a very prominent star.
That's the word I was looking for. Thank you.
So I wanted on the record that I called it the night she lost the title. I called this last night. Well, last night of recording. You know.
Yeah, he called it on Tuesday after she lost the title. We have the receipts.
I asked the group. I was like, "All right, guys, what do you think? Fired or main roster?" And I said this. I got involved. Scary enough on a Facebook chat about this with people on a post. This feels sudden if you haven't been aware of what's been going on. A lot of these women in the WWE have had OnlyFans, BrandArmy, whatever it is. And WWE has told them to take it down. Women such as Zelina Vega, women such as BFAB, they were all told explicitly, you are not allowed to have your own site. And let me be the first to say, I disagree with that notion. I think if you're listing these people as independent contractors, they are allowed to make money on the side however they should see fit. But that said, it's a rule that was established. It was a rule that was established. Other people followed it. For Mandy to assume that she could break that rule without punishment for so long, because this has been going on for months, and we are under the impression that WWE has known for a certain amount of time. This sort of inevitably falls on Mandy, despite the fact that she claims that she was, or reports have said that she was blindsided by this fire. I hope that this was a knee-jerk reaction and they can come to an understanding and they can bring her back in sooner than later. But truth be told, she chose not to get rid of her BrandArmy or her OnlyFans, whatever it is, because she's making more money there. Well, I don't know about more money, but she's making nearly enough money that it wasn't necessarily worth losing in favor of her WWE job. That says a lot about how these people are paid. But I hope to see Mandy elsewhere. I hope to see Mandy get taken by AEW or Ring of Honor or not Impact, but maybe New Japan. And although let's be real, she would actually kill it in Impact. But I hope that this isn't the last we see of Mandy Rose. It's crazy to think that this is someone who has the third longest reign in NXT Women's Championship history. And man, if this is the hill they're willing to die on, good for them. But I don't know that I would. Now, I will say, in WWE's defense, beyond it being a rule that they had established, whatever, the rumor mill is churning saying that their hand is forced because they have a contract with Mattel. Mattel being the toy company that produces their action figures. And the contract says that you need to act accordingly within certain parameters to maintain that contract. So if you've got an action figure toy deal where you're expected to act a certain way because children are associating you with that, I understand WWE's hands maybe were tied, but it's a tough situation. It sucks all around, and I'm not worried about what is it, Chad? The team name?
Toxic Attraction.
Thank you.
I know I'm not Chad, but
thank you, Chad. I'm not worried about Gigi. I'm not worried about not Gigi, but
we just do a wrestling podcast, everybody. We don't need to know the names of everyone.
I don't watch that much NXT.
I don't watch any NXT. I don't know.
JC Jane.
Thank you. So we'll edit it when it comes time.
Absolutely not.
Nope.
Okay. Just have Chad over me. When I say not Gigi, just have Chad say the name. But yeah, I'm not worried about them because I think they're a good act on their own without her. But yeah, this like I said, it's unfortunate. I was looking forward to her on the main roster. I was looking forward to Toxic Attraction versus like Bailey and the Huggers. So who knows? And I would just like to say one last thing. Chad, I'll let you go in a second. But
you're fine.
I've seen so many people bring up, well, WWE used to have the women do Playboy. Shawn Michaels posed for Playgirl. Yeah, that was the 90s and early 2000s when they were not a PG company anymore. And they're not a PG company. They were not a PG company at the time, I mean. So it's not really a fair equivalency.
Yeah, well, also too, sensibilities shift. Like it was a lot more acceptable to pose, have women pose in Playboy back then as opposed to now.
I mean,
for the company, that is.
Yeah, for the company. I was going to say, I think people are way more accepting at this point of something like an OnlyFans or a BrandArmy or whatever than back then with Playboy or whatever. It's just, it's not what the company's going for. And that's really all that matters in the long run, whether or not you agree with it or not.
Yeah, and she's really ramped it up recently too. And in like looking up some of the stories for this.
Oh yeah, you were looking stuff up.
You're trying to look up information on the release, and you're on Twitter, and then you click the hashtag, and you're seeing some of this stuff. It's not porn, but we're toeing the line. We're probably even dipping our toe in the water there. Like
I can also say, due to our journalistic research, that Mandy was definitely posting stuff that was a little more risque than some of the women who had to take down their sites.
Yeah, so, there were a lot less clothes.
Yes.
So that's part of the reason too. Is just like, she not only was pushing the envelope just having the page, she then went even further and pushed it to where, as you're saying, James, other companies might not want that associated with them, and WWE may have had to make a decision. So that's interesting. Also, I'm sure, if you do want to continue to see her and you got $40 a month, you're fine. So
Jesus Christ, he's not wrong, folks. You can definitely keep seeing Mandy Rose on your screen.
all
in
of her.
Some way. Oh, okay. Chad, please.
Also,
save me.
too, I will say she has raised her price from $25 to $40. Apparently,
No. From $12.50 to $20 to $25 to 40.
Damn.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to dig into your pockets, kids. So Chad, I want not only your opinions on the firing itself, but I am curious, since you are our NXT guy, how do you think this does affect Toxic Attraction now that she's gone? Because they have been on their own. They were up at SmackDown, I think, for the tag tournament, the tag title tournament. So they can function as a unit without her. But I'm interested to see your thoughts on what their future might be. And I guess to a certain extent too, what the future of the NXT Women's title is now that she's lost it. And I don't remember the name of the woman they put her on,
Roxanne
but I know
Perez.
Roxanne Perez. Thank you, but I do know she's very, very young.
She is super young. I want to say she's like literally, I think 22, 23.
Yeah, I think I read 23.
Yeah, maybe even younger. I don't know. You'd have to fact check me.
I know Booker T was hype.
Yeah, because he trained her. She's
Roxy.
She was the ROH women's champion first in the beginning of this year. And well, to be honest, if I must say, I think everybody was kind of ready for Mandy to lose. So this was the right direction in that aspect. I don't know if Roxanne per se was the perfect person to take it, but Mandy wasn't getting stale, but she was just around the Roman zone where it was like, all right, who the hell's going to beat her? We need someone to beat her soon. So I think that's fine. As far as Toxic Attraction, I'm with James. I think they'll be fine without her. I mean, she was the best mouthpiece. That's really what she was for. But she wasn't the best wrestler there. So I don't think that, I don't think that does too much. I would like to see said photos for journalistic reasons.
Just go on Twitter, dude.
I will absolutely hit Twitter after this. I need to see the links so that I can...
The Mark It Down account's gonna get really weird for a couple of weeks.
I need to see the pictures so I can know exactly like how risque these pictures really are. Like, excuse me for being crass. Are they actual nudes? Or are they just...
No, she's posing. Yeah, she's posing topless, or but she's covered, whether it's her hair or her hands or what have you. There were a couple of pictures of her and her fiance in the shower, and both of them didn't have clothes on, but you couldn't see anything due to angles and pushing up against each other.
Okay, so just very provocative photos. Okay,
yeah,
understood.
But like I said, it's not porn, but like we're dipping our toes in the water.
It's absolutely softcore porn. It's Cinemax porn. But
well, there hasn't been any fucking yet, but
I'll know soon enough. Anywho,
the episode that gets us canceled, folks.
Chad will be in his bunk.
We won't be canceled. We're human. Anywho, I think I have to kind of agree with James here, though. It's the line. Well, it is what it is. At the end of the day, if WWE had a percentage or if they were benefiting from it more so, it wouldn't turn out this way. It's unfortunate that she was fired. And I do believe, just a suspension or a hefty fine would have done well. But again, what James said with Mattel, how they're kind of backed up against the corner and they got to do something. I do see her. I don't know. I see them hiring her back at some point, because once this blows over, you still have a superstar who could have skyrocketed like half of the division on SmackDown at least, or something. I mean, I just think she's a great talent, and I don't think it was her time to leave yet. But I do understand when you teeter that line between, as you said, porn and, just provocative pictures. And what can any of us say? I mean, if that's what they want to do, then that's what they're doing. It is what it is. She crossed the line more than once and habitually to the point where they told her
A habitual line stepper.
exactly. But she did it to the point where they've said to multiple superstars, hey, you guys can't have this content, and if you do have this content, limit it. And she just kind of balls to the wall, no pun intended. It was like, I'm going to do whatever I want because this is where I'm getting my money. And also, do you want to look at your champion like that? Does your champion sell as well when she has her foot in both worlds? I mean, I don't know. I don't believe they should police her body. I will say that. And I do think WWE is super anti-sex work until it favors them or they're getting a percentage. I mean, it's true.
Well, I mean, they got a percentage from the Playboy ones.
Exactly. We've seen Sable's tits every other week for a year because it was on Raw. If it wasn't on Raw, then she would have been fired. But, I don't know. It's a mess, but I agree with James for the most part, though. Yeah,
this is obviously an instance of fuck around and find out. She fucked around, and she found out.
True.
Like, they've been telling her, you can't do this, and not only did she continue to do it, she pushed it all the way as far as she could, and then pushed it too far, and she fucking got fired. And I mean, what? It's one of those things where it's like the company kind of has to make an example. You're not following the rules. And then not only you're not following the rules, you're starting to make us look bad. So, yeah, sorry, you gotta go.
And again, she was the champ. So, it's heavier when you have that responsibility on you.
Yeah, and especially because it makes you a more public figure. You are the champion. And honestly, it's probably the part of the reason why it took this long for her to be let go.
Yeah.
Because she was the champion and they had to figure out what to do. Because I know I saw a lot of people online being like, before she was released, why did they not wait until, the New Year's show to have her lose the title? Why do it now? This is why they found their opportunity, especially, now with these leaks garnering even more attention. They're like, she's got to go and she's got to go now. So they pulled the trigger on the title change and then released her. And
that said, and we kind of talked about this before we started recording. If you're the person who is posting this stuff on Twitter, you happy? Did you get what you wanted? Like, what was your thought process here, pal? Like,
yeah, I don't know who it was, but like Twitter was definitely calling a single person out. And they're all like, you see what you did, you moron? Like, you were so happy. Like, apparently they're a Mandy Rose fan, I think, from what I could gather. But you got her fired, bud. Good job.
Yeah, not good.
Let's move on here to a slightly related story because it's kind of the other side of the coin here, where Matt Riddle has been suspended by the WWE after failing a drug test, according to Body Slam. So apparently, Riddle had reportedly failed a drug test, which was the last one under Vince McMahon, leading up to his match with Seth Rollins. I think it was around after SummerSlam. So his match got pushed back to Clash at the Castle. And then he was told if he had failed another drug test, it would lead to one of those situations a la Jeff Hardy, where it would be go to rehab or get fired. So then Riddle apparently failed another drug test recently, leading to him being written off for 6 weeks and being forced to go to rehab. This way, that 6-week timeline allows him to finish rehab and return to television. Now, WWE also has stated in the past that they no longer test for marijuana, which, knowing Riddle, is a big deal because he's the weed guy. But it has led to a lot of speculation that he has been suspended for harder drugs, perhaps possibly cocaine. No one's really sure. No one's come out and said why he has been suspended, but that seems to be the speculation here. Now, obviously, this is slightly related to the Mandy stuff because Riddle, despite being given multiple warnings, has yet to be fired. as opposed to Mandy, who was just let go. So, Chad, obviously, I think first of all, we all want Riddle to beat this and, complete his rehab and be better, or get better, excuse me. But this is a very interesting situation with him where he seems to be struggling with addiction, and WWE seems to be having his back here.
It's not funny. It's a very serious situation. However, I think I call bullshit on the company only because we've seen this play out multiple times. And of course, it's going to be solely on Riddle if he would like to get help and get clean. But I hate to bring up Jeff Hardy, but the Jeff Hardy of it all just screams inconsistent. I don't think the company cares that much. But then they also do care, because why not fire him? I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. Love Riddle to death. Fire him. The history of drug abuse and addiction that's run rampant in the WWE, I really think they should sit back, take a look, and follow an actual protocol. You've warned this guy multiple times, the same as Mandy, and he's failed 2 drug tests, not 1, but 2
that we know of.
That we know of. So why not? This is what I mean when I say they don't take action soon and necessary enough. After he failed the first one, that's when you write him off TV. That's a suspension. That's when you get him clean. You don't wait for the second and third one so that he overdoses and dies, and then all you can say is, we warned him. I mean, again, a lot of this is on him. He has to want to get clean. He has to want to beat this. I don't think they should give him the option to figure out if he wants to or does not want to. It's either get clean or don't have a job. To me, it would just stop a whole bunch of bullshit in between. And I don't think, like you said, this is the second one that we know of. That tells me that there's been many more, and that's why he didn't get the title when I wanted him to get the fucking title.
Well, yeah, and that was the ultimatum they gave him. They said, you go to rehab or get fired. I do agree that you should probably nip this in the bud earlier instead of, just being like, okay, bud, like next time, that's it. But, no more. And then, guess what happens? He does it again. And now, then we hit, the ultimatum part of it. But I think we've seen previously, not just with Jeff Hardy, but with other wrestlers as well, that Randy Orton. I mean, you can even look at the Usos to a certain extent and all their problems with alcohol
Don't
and driving.
Even get me fucking started on the Usos. You get a DWI, and then you get a DUI, and then you're the champion the week after. This company is bullshit. Sorry, continue, Rev.
Yeah, but I think that just shows the lack of discipline that WWE tends to distribute around drugs and alcohol, and mistakes being made with it. And it's just wildly inconsistent from what happened with Mandy that we just talked about. Mm-hmm. Especially because, and I mean, this is me saying this, one of them is somebody making money and then not getting a piece of it, and the other one is just somebody fucking up their money, and then they got to get them clean so they can get that back because they're stars. Mm-hmm. So, James, it's a very interesting dichotomy there, I think.
I completely agree. If you have a problem, you need to fix it. And I'm consistent on that. I was consistent on that with Jeff too. It hurts, but it's just the reality. I think Riddle is a talented guy. I think he's definitely shown he's had some issues in the past, but it's never been that big a deal before. If you go to Twitter, there are a lot of rumors being spread about him right now about the scene down in Florida. I don't know that they're true. I don't know that they're not, but that's what's being reported about him. And again, go to Twitter, guys, if you want to go check out what's going on with Matt Riddle. But at the end of the day, I don't care necessarily about the WWE stuff. If he's got a drug problem, I would just like him to get the help he needs to get better. Apparently, this is strike 2 for Riddle. You know, the first strike was Clash of the Champions. I'm glad that they had the ability to say, we're going to push this storyline back. And let's be real. He won that feud. He beat Seth in the end in the fight pit, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
So all it did was delay things for a little bit.
Mhm.
I don't know what to do from here other than to say, I hope he gets the help he needs. Chances are he'll probably show up in the Rumble. Question mark.
Yeah, no, that's over 6 weeks. That lines up.
Like Jeff, there are more important things here than wrestling. I hope he gets his house in order. And yeah, just disappointed.
But what are your feelings on, like I said, like the Mandy Rose situation versus this? Because like obviously she got fired after multiple warnings and he's just being sent to rehab.
That's a very fair question. I don't know how to say it without sounding callous. It's like one is addiction versus one is a business choice. You know, and that's not to say addicts get a free pass for their shitty behavior. Absolutely not. But at the end of the day, they are two different issues. I agree. I wish Mandy didn't get fired. I stand by it. I wish Mandy didn't get fired. And I'm glad that Riddle's not fired yet. You know, maybe this is strike 2. Maybe strike 3, he gets fired. But I don't want him fired yet for this. I want to believe he could beat this. But I do think we're comparing apples and oranges a little bit with what the issues are.
Why can't you compare those two things? They're both fruits.
Lil Dicky would agree. But yeah, man, I don't know.
I think you made a good point. One is a business decision, and one is is a medical thing. You know, addiction is a medical thing. I just wish maybe perhaps they had suspended Mandy first. I think
that's kind of where I was with it.
Yeah, because obviously they've suspended Riddle, and they're giving him a chance to clean himself up. Whereas I think you could suspend Mandy and be like, if you don't take this down, you're gonna get fired, and like that's why we're suspending you. And while you're suspended, if you don't take it down, then we're just not gonna bring you back. So I think there was a step there that they could have taken that they skipped. And now perhaps they skipped it because she had the title and they had to kind of keep her around for a while until they had an opportunity for her to lose it. But, so perhaps she had gotten multiple warnings, and in lieu of suspending her after multiple warnings, they just ended up firing her. But
it's because
I just
she's not in RK Bro. She's not selling that merch. It is what it is.
There's also something to consider with the fact that what would a suspension do here? You suspend Riddle because the idea is he goes to get help. Great. I'm all for that. I think we're all on the same page. Get help, not Riddle. There's nothing wrong with Mandy. If she got suspended, I don't think she's going to stop doing the OnlyFans BrandArmy stuff.
She just has more time to do it.
Exactly.
Well, my dear James, attention is also a drug, sir.
Fair point. Very fair point. But I'll be honest. I think the money is what was motivating her to keep doing it.
True.
And if you're making that much money, why stop?
Yeah.
It's why Zelina got fired that first time, remember?
Yep.
She got fired because she didn't want to drop it.
Yeah. Right.
And we said the same thing back then. Why, this sucks that they fired her. Why is WWE like this? But the reality is this situation isn't any different. They make a choice to say, I would rather make money outside of my contract, which they should have that right to do. But these are the terms if you're going to stay employed by the company, unfortunately. So if they suspend her, oh man, I can't work for a month. I'm getting suspended without pay. Good thing I've got this other source of revenue.
True.
I don't think I don't think she should have gotten fired, but a suspension would have done nothing.
Yeah. Well, I think the only way it would have done something if it was a suspension with if you don't delete this by the end of the 30 days, then we're going to fire you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In which case, crank out as much content you can in the 30 days and then kill it, I guess, if you want to stay employed. But
honestly,
yeah, but I mean, like, it would have had to been some sort of ultimatum. I do see the differences here in the situations, obviously, but I think it's just interesting to compare and contrast the two. Let us move on to another WWE story. This one involving Vince McMahon. Yeah, he's back, kids.
No, he's not.
Maybe, but he's back in the news at least. So, according to a story that came out in the Wall Street Journal in the past week, Vince McMahon reportedly wants to come back to WWE. Now, the article itself mostly dealt with the fact that Vince has been served new legal action from two women who allege that he sexually assaulted them in the past. One of them was that referees whose story had come out during the initial reporting, who she said that he assaulted her 30 years ago. And she had put her story out back then, but nothing came of it. And now with the new allegations, she's coming back, I guess you could say. But the part of the story that really got picked up was that Vince has allegedly told people that he wants to return to the company. And he thinks that he was given the bad advice when he stepped away, believing that if he had stayed, everything would have eventually blown over and he would have been fine. Now, next to this, Sean Ross Sapp also reported that he has spoken to some WWE higher-ups and they don't want Vince back. They're good. They're happy with the direction everything has been going in, and he can stay away. So, James, Vince coming back seems like a bad move. It looks like the company is running more than fine without him. Triple H has been doing some new and interesting things for creative, and whether or not you like those things is obviously subjective. But the company seems to be running fine without him. Everything's running smoothly. The employees seem very happy, and I think his return would throw a serious wrench into the way into this new smoothly running machine.
It doesn't seem like a bad idea, Nick. It is a bad idea. Stay away, Vince. Please. Please stay away. Don't tank this company. I don't even care about creative. Stay away, you old bastard. Please. The scariest part about all this, I don't even need to comment on the things you said because it's no different than anything we've talked about for months and the months that we were dealing with him leaving and all that stuff. The scariest thing is he can come back anytime he wants because he is the majority shareholder. He could replace the board on a whim for people that will vote him back in. And we'd all just have to accept it.
I have to imagine, though, the board has some rights and protections there, though, right? I'm not a business major, but
I mean, when you have the majority share, when you have the majority share with the ability to vote however you please, it's down to a vote. It's not their fault. It's not his fault that he has the majority. He's just smart enough to do so. I hate it. I don't want it. I don't want him back. I think the company is in a better place without him. I think his time is over, let alone the fact that I'm choosing to believe the multiple women who have come out against him, that he is a monstrous piece of shit. No, I'm good. Please stay away. I don't need you back. The company doesn't need you back. The only reason you'd come back is because you're bored and you have an ego. We're good, man.
Yeah, I 100% agree. This company clearly doesn't need him anymore. And I think him coming back would be a serious hit to the company and its standing, especially because it's a publicly traded company. I think that would actually end up tanking the stock. And from what I understand, it's been going up ever since he's left. So, him coming back embroiled in all of these legal issues, Chad, cannot be good for this company.
At all. I don't see a single optimistic or bright side to this at all. I'm with James. Please just stay far the fuck away. We don't need you, no matter how much you want us to want and need you and stroke your ego.
I want you to want me.
Please stay home and just stay home, out of sight. I'm with you. I think the product tanks. I think it's time he starts fessing up to his shit. And I mean, we've all said already that he's out of the company, but he's still very much the company. So just sit back and collect your coins. You got away with it, you fucking idiot. Just shut up and be a dick at home. Leave us alone. Leave us out of it. Don't make us feel any worse than we do already. Because he did every single thing that everyone has said he's done. He's a piece of shit. We all know it. He's a monster. And just no.
You know how much it sucks that, like, at the bare minimum, we're not even saying rot in jail. We're just saying go retire.
Yeah, go sit in your multi-million-dollar mansion and and rot there instead of in jail. And it's unfortunate that I'm pretty sure due to the statute of limitations, you probably can't. Now, hopefully these women can at least take a couple of those $1 million off of him in these lawsuits because he fucking deserves it. But I mean, that is the literal bare minimum that we can do for these women, unfortunately, which sucks. But yeah, Vince, just stay the fuck away, please. You would only create a huge mess for yourself, for that company, for your daughter, for everybody. So just stay home, dude. Stay home. Keep going to dinner with John Cena and leave us the fuck alone. All right, let's move to another story, WWE adjacent, and it is the reports that Mercedes Varnado, aka Sasha Banks, who has obviously left WWE, is going to appear at New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom 17, according to PWI. Now, as of this taping, it is unknown whether or not she's going to appear in front of the crowd or they're just bringing her in as a guest behind the scenes and she'll be backstage. But Varnado has previously teased facing off against Kairi again, and Kairi currently works for Stardom, who is owned by the same parent company as New Japan, and she is scheduled to appear at Wrestle Kingdom 17. So, Chad, this is mostly speculation, but the hype is real. Sasha Banks in New Japan sounds awesome. Her facing Kairi in New Japan sounds awesome. And she's been training and wrestling in Mexico, apparently. So she's definitely ramping up for something. I'm hyped. I'm sufficiently hyped.
Okay, listen. I don't want her mistakes and her unprofessional attitude go against the fact that Sasha Banks is absolutely one of the best women superstar performers we've seen in a very long time. That being said, the hype is much needed, and I still can't really wrap my head around her not being in WWE.
It's weird, right?
So yeah, it's super weird because I thought she would be a for lifer for sure. But the time she spent away has made me really realize, and of course Danny would combat me with all of this, but it made me realize how actually important and really good Sasha Banks was and still is, to the point where I don't care where she turns up, I'm going to pop. I don't care if it's AEW, WWE again, New Japan, I'm gonna pop because Sasha is good, and this shit has kept everyone in New Japan on their toes for the last like 2 weeks. I've heard nothing but it. I've been getting actual text messages from people like, "Yo, Sasha Banks, Sasha Banks, Sasha Banks," and I'm not even the biggest Sasha fan, but I'm like, damn, okay, this feels really important. Of course, it's still all speculation, but this is a big deal. It's a huge deal.
Yeah, and she's definitely ramping up to something. Like I just said, she's been training in Mexico. She's been putting in some trademark claims, I guess they're called, I don't know, requests for certain what would seem like in-ring names, at least. And also, too, I think she's been enjoying the freedom of not being under the WWE umbrella. She's been apparently, she said that she's been acting a lot more, and she also apparently is working on a makeup line. She was mentioning that today on Instagram. I think she was on Instagram with Bailey on Instagram Live, and she said that on Wednesday. So she's got a lot of stuff going on. She's got a lot of freedom, and I think wrestling in Japan is something she's always wanted to do. And going up against Kyrie James is an awesome opportunity for her at Wrestle Kingdom, no less.
So I don't know if she'll actually be wrestling at Wrestle Kingdom. She is expected to appear because I'm pretty sure Kyrie is wrestling somebody else at Wrestle Kingdom already.
Oh, did they already announce her opponent? I saw like the hype package for Wrestle Kingdom, and they only showed Kyrie.
Yeah,
they didn't show who she was facing. Unfortunately, it's not Brock Lesnar, that fucking coward. But even if Sasha just came out and like pointed at her and left, I'm pretty sure we'd all be pretty fucking excited.
I agree. I think that's what we're gonna get to.
She's probably gonna. Is she gonna? Well, of course, it's all speculation. Is she gonna be an audience member? Is it just gonna be viewing?
Oh, like the NXT, like in the crowd type of deal?
Is it just that situation? She's just viewing wrestling?
Well, PWI said she's going to be a guest of New Japan. Like, she's going to be a guest of the company,
so she's going to
be backstage at minimum. Okay. Even if she's just there to hang out and be backstage and tour the place, like, she's going to be there. Whether or not she's involved in the on-screen stuff remains to be seen.
So this is what has been reported. Sasha had been negotiating with Stardom, the women's company in Japan. Well, one of the women's companies in Japan. That they are the most prominent one. Yeah. They are owned by Bushiroad. Talks fell through because of the price tag. Sasha was asking for a lot. Sasha is asking for a lot. When those talks fell through, things went quiet for a bit. But reportedly, Bushiroad opened up those talks again for New Japan, where they're definitely allocating more money to New Japan than they are to Stardom. That's why it'd be more likely to see her going for the IWGP Women's Championship than to see her going for anything in Stardom at this point. If rumors are to be believed, the deal she's getting, and Nick, I apologize if you covered this a second ago, and she's making Roman Reigns money.
I saw that. Like I saw like she'd be the highest paid person in New Japan, like more than Okada.
She'd be making more money than Okada.
At least per appearance.
Yes, per appearance. And the highest benchmark so far in Japan is Chris Jericho, who made $100,000 per appearance. She'd be making more than Chris Jericho in Japan. That's crazy. And you know what? If she can get it, good for her. Good for her. She is, Nick, you talked about it, Chad, you talked about it. She's got cross appeal. You know, she's doing so many different things. She was on Disney's Star Wars, The Mandalorian. She was walking the runway on Fashion Week. She's got so much going on. She doesn't need to wrestle.
Don't forget her army of stans on Twitter and Tumblr.
And let's not forget her very famous cousin, Snoop Dogg.
True.
So she doesn't need to do any of this. She's doing it because she loves wrestling. We've seen that. It's been apparent. She loves wrestling. So let the woman wrestle. I hope this means she shows up in AEW too. We're all kind of hoping she's Soraya's tag partner. But good for Mercedes. I said Sasha before, I know that. Good for Mercedes.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get used to that one.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird because there's already a Mercedes in AEW.
Is there?
Yes, Mercedes Martinez.
I know.
She does fine. She's fine. She's fine. It's fine. She's fine.
Aren't you the one who nicknamed her Tattooed Tamina?
I was gonna say, which one of you called her that?
It was definitely James. No,
I don't know why I thought it was you, Chad. Was it you, James?
He's not here, so we're gonna blame Danny.
it was
Good move.
absolutely. It was James.
It was 100% James.
Go back and prove it. In the meantime,
You're gonna really make me look through all the fucking archives to find that.
innocent until proven guilty.
I guess,
Prove
man.
me guilty.
Wow.
I'm very excited because whatever division Sasha goes into, she's gonna elevate. She's one of the 4 horsewomen of WWE. She main evented WrestleMania. Do you know how many women can say that? I think 3 others. No, 4 others.
Yeah, 4.
Yep.
This is incredible. And if she goes to AEW, have her beat Jade on her first night.
Oh, bold statement.
Yep.
It would
If
probably
she-
be her second night because her first night would be tagging with Soraya.
Unfortunate, but true. Have her beat Jade on her second night. If she
Speaking
goes,
of, have you seen the portraits of Naomi and Jade?
I've seen that they were hanging out recently. I think they were at an NBA game somewhere. So
I
that's
too
cool.
saw that, but I don't know anything about a portrait.
I just mean picture being.
Oh.
nice.
Okay.
Yeah, I
have
was
seen
like,
them
did they
together.
sit for a fucking painting? Like 1700s? It's
Like
oh,
Kenny and
come,
Don
Naomi, let
Callis.
us pose for a portrait this evening.
Like Kenny and Don Callis. They're just super buff oil paintings. How sad for Naomi. Nobody gives a shit.
I think wherever she ends up, I think she'll do well, though.
I think she's gonna end up wherever Sasha Mercedes ends up. And I think that's just because Mercedes took her on this journey and she's not gonna leave her hanging high and dry.
Yeah.
I really want to believe that.
If she ends up in AEW, I can see Naomi coming with her. If it's exclusively New Japan / Stardom, I don't know if she goes to Japan.
Truth be
I
told,
don't see
think
Japan.
I think she would thrive in Impact.
Yeah, that seems like a
sure.
good spot for her.
For sure.
Yeah, I think she would thrive in Impact. She could fill the gap or the void left by Mia Yim. She could get a lot done in Impact. But I hope for the best for these women. I'm over everything that happened. I know I was one of the holdouts saying I don't necessarily appreciate how they handled this situation. But, fuck it. Fuck it. She was working for Vince McMahon. She never worked for Triple. They never worked for Triple H. So screw Vince. Let them make their money elsewhere.
With that being said, would you mind if they went back to the E now
Not at all.
with Triple H at the helm?
Anybody who left WWE, whether they were fired or voluntarily left under the Vince McMahon regime and now wants to go back during the Triple H regime, I will not have a single bad thing to say about any of them, except for maybe Andrade. But that's just because Andrade's a punk now.
We don't talk about Bruno.
We really shouldn't. We really shouldn't.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I was going to say, I do think Triple H being in charge now does leave the door open for them to return. But I like I was saying earlier, I just think Mercedes is enjoying all of this freedom she's gotten.
Yeah.
She's able to have all their ventures. She's acting more, and she's being able to, I would assume, live out a dream, being able to wrestle in Japan. It seems like something she's always wanted to do. And just her being able to go into different ventures with something she wasn't really able to do with WWE, I think at least for now, it's not in the cards. Maybe in the future, but for now, I think it seems to be like she's very happy and thriving.
One of the big rumors too is that she was in negotiations with WWE to work out a new contract to come back. But the thing that was keeping it from going through was the money. She was asking for more money than they were willing to pay her. So I don't know what that means in the long run. I don't know if that's going to continue to be an issue moving forward, but it's a big enough issue now that it stopped her from coming back, supposedly, according to the reports. So Yeah, if someone's willing to pay you, get that money.
Get your bank.
Yep.
Pun intended.
Well done. Well done. All right, let's move on to one last topic here before we get out of here. And it actually is not WWE related for the first time tonight. And it is the fact that Tony Khan announced after Ring of Honor's Final Battle pay-per-view that the new Ring of Honor show will be put on Honor Club, which is their subscription service. Now, while Tony Khan didn't specifically say that they don't have a TV deal, the fact that the show is going on to Honor Club pretty much tells us they don't have a TV deal. So, James, as Ring of Honor guy, A, what do you think this means for Ring of Honor itself? And B, what does this tell you about Ring of Honor as a product? The fact that it doesn't seem like anybody wanted to pick it up in any capacity, streaming, TV, or otherwise.
It's a tough position for Tony Khan and Ring of Honor to be in. I know things are very much in flux right now at Warner Brothers Discovery. In fact,
that's a polite way of fucking putting it.
In fact, as of this last week or so, maybe 2 weeks ago, AEW's biggest advocate in Warner Brothers Discovery got fired.
I saw that. Yeah.
So it's a scary time for Tony Khan's wrestling companies right now in general. As far as Ring of Honor goes, I love Ring of Honor. I will forever be dedicated to Ring of Honor and forever be loyal to Ring of Honor. The truth is, I don't know that there was a place for them in 2022 on television as they are known to be. You know, maybe if they were revamped heavily, there'd be a spot for them, but I don't think there is a spot for what Ring of Honor is right now. You know, I think there is a spot for a third major company on TV. I do. I don't think it needs to just be WWE and AEW. But with the way Ring of Honor is being presented, I don't think they are going to be that third company.
You just dismiss Impact without even thinking about it.
I love Impact. They have all the opportunity to be the third company on TV. They're just not.
They're on TV though.
Access TV does not have the viewership that USA or TBS or TNT or Fox has. Yeah.
Oh, I'm aware. I mean, it's like it's in a weird spot above ESPN on my FiOS guide, but only in the HDs. I can't even find it in standard def.
Yep. So I would love it for it to be Impact, but they don't care enough about pushing for third anymore.
Fair.
They're third by default, really.
Yeah, but I think that does say something. The fact that they got a TV deal. I know it's on Access, but Ring of Honor couldn't.
But that could also mean that Tony was asking for a lot more than what Impact's asking for.
Touche.
It could be that he was asking for more than anyone was willing to give, but they were willing to give something. He just wasn't willing to settle for it. We don't really know the details on that yet. I'm sure it'll come out in time. But them being on a streaming service makes sense. Ideally, it would have been nice if they were on someone else's streaming service and not their own. Yeah. Honor Club is going to be a thing again. I am going to subscribe to Honor Club. Chances are the John Cena guy will be the Ring of Honor guy for the Mark It Down podcast. But I encourage everyone to check out Honor Club because there's going to be so much content there. Years, decades really, of Ring of Honor content where you'll be able to see stars like Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, Samoa Joe, Claudio Castagnoli,
Steen, Generico,
the
Bucks, Kenny, Adam Cole, baby,
Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, you get that whole like Bullet Club era before AEW started. If you want to like learn, at least in kayfabe, how this whole thing came to be, you can even combo that with watching all the BTE from that era too, and then bang. Then you
have and All In.
I was literally about to say All In as well. Hype.
So
they should start putting the AEW stuff on there, honestly. Just make it one big streaming service. Fuck it.
That would be nice. And they're not even putting Ring of Honor pay-per-views on there until 2 months after.
Yeah.
You still have to go to Fight TV or wherever you buy your pay-per-views nowadays.
Yeah, Bleacher Report. I don't know if I think Bleacher Report does the Ring of Honor ones too, because I know you could still buy old AEW pay-per-views on Bleacher Report, because I almost did it a couple weeks ago. I wanted to watch Pac versus Orange Cassidy, and I didn't pay for that one.
I will gladly share my AEW Bleacher Report account with you, buddy.
I think that might have been one where we were together and we watched it.
That might have been.
Because I'm only missing like 2.
But point being, it's not ideal news for Ring of Honor, but it's still promising that Tony is going to push forward, and it's good for AEW that it's not going to be siphoning off time for Ring of Honor to get coverage.
Yeah, that's fair. I like the idea of Honor Club. I think it sounds cool. I was obviously very hyped just talking to you now about all the interesting stuff we could get. I think it's got to be at least a little disappointing for Tony that they didn't get a TV deal, especially now that he's starting to divest the Ring of Honor from AEW in terms of on-screen stuff. At least we continue to pray he continues to do that, because this week's episode of Dynamite was very Ring of Honor light, and it was nice, and we enjoyed it. Go watch our review about it. But Chad, what were your thoughts on all this? The fact that Ring of Honor wasn't able to secure any sort of deal, whether, there was speculation they could have went to HBO Max, and that's clearly not happening, although HBO Max is going down the tubes. But
Sure.
Yeah, but the fact that they couldn't get a streaming deal anywhere with Warner Brothers or anywhere else, they couldn't get a TV deal, and now they have to resort to going to their own platform.
I think it's a setback, of course, but I think it's a minor setback for a bigger comeback. I'm with James. He said a while ago, when we were getting the heavy ROH appearances on AEW, James said ROH would work so perfectly online. And I recall him, and I was like, well, I mean, how would that work? He was like, they would rack up on YouTube, or if they were streaming like they did before. And now that that's happening, I see that little window he was talking about, because now this is where you can really own in on a craft and make the product as good as you want it, and then from there, possibly, boom, TV deal. But I mean, it is unfortunate, but I'm looking forward to the app. I'm going to use James shit. I'm going to use James shit constantly, because Dalton Castle, hello. But yeah, I think it's just, like I said, a minor setback just for a bigger comeback. I think he'll be able to either appeal or come back to this in a couple years and say, well, hey, I'm doing blah, blah, blah numbers here. I should be on TBS with ROH or whatever. And then again, like you guys said, we don't get as much of it on AEW, which has been slightly invigorating. It's been just kind of refreshing, I hate to say. So, I mean, I'm all for it. It is, it's a sad day for Tony Khan, but he can make the most out of it.
You're phrasing there a slight step back to go forward in the future. It kind of almost makes me think of like the original NXT when it first started, not the game show, when Triple H's vision of NXT started, when they moved away from FCW and started that new show, where it was only on WWE Network, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And like it really kind of hard to find and niche. And they just had such good wrestling that it continued to build and continue to build and continue to build all the way to the point where they ended up getting a TV contract with USA Network.
Exactly.
And I think that would kind of have to be the business model now, for Tony Khan. Obviously, Ring of Honor has a lot more history than NXT did. And you know what I mean? It was, like I said, it was a fucking game show, and a pretty bad one at that, even if it did give us Daniel Bryan. But
I resent that, but opinions.
Maybe I'm being a little too influenced by that women's season and freaking CM Punk just torching it on commentary for half an hour. But
that was bad. That was bad.
The commentary was great. That season was bad. But
the season.
But I digress. I do think, though, that, like I said, Ring of Honor has more history than NXT did. but it's a reset now. And I think you kind of have to go to perhaps not the beginnings of NXT where people weren't really known. And I know guys like, Tyler Black and John Moxley were there, but they weren't as big as they would become. I think you kind of have a good base of people where you have guys like Castle and the Boys and the Briscoes. And then you also have Claudio and Wheeler, who people know from, I guess both WWE, Ring of Honor for Claudio, and then AEW. So you have I think a better starting base with the talent where you're going to have people come in. And if you continue to put on good shows and you continue to have good wrestling, more and more people will, eventually get there. And then, like you said, Chad, you can go to the networks and being like, look at the numbers I'm doing behind a paywall. Imagine the numbers I'll do on your channel.
Yeah, because I would imagine they would. I think if people really paid attention, I mean, wrestling is such a special interest, of course. So we always get put in the box. But I would imagine that the money he'll make alone off the library would set the whole fucking television on fire. I don't know how they didn't jump at this, but I'm glad they didn't, so that he can prove to them, like, yo, I got shit on shit on shit. Because Samoa Joe's best matches, CM Punk before he was CM Punk, like, I don't know how they didn't sell to TV, but that library is extensive and extraordinary.
Well, I remember when he bought it, that was half the reason people were excited. They're like, now he's got the library, and half the fucking roster from back then is contracted to AEW. So, and you saw it immediately. He was instantaneously using that library to hype up, upcoming matches by using the old footage of guys facing off against each other, or, CM Punk and MJF's feud with where the devil, the devil's greatest trick is making you believe he doesn't exist. It's amazing what Tony's been doing with that library without even having a platform. And now he's going to have a platform to put that on, similar to WWE Network before it got fucked by Peacock. But
sad day.
Yeah. But I think, the streaming service side of it is one thing, but I think, he needs to get the numbers on the actual weekly show of Ring of Honor to be able to jump to the networks.
And I will say one thing, just to, not to be a Debbie Downer, but something that does need to be acknowledged. WWE was pulling in the majority of its subscribers for the network because of pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Being able to watch WrestleMania for $10 as opposed to the $50 to $60 it would charge on pay-per-view was a huge reason for people to get the network.
Yep.
NXT was a bonus for a lot of people. I remember back then, I don't think a lot of people were subscribing for NXT. They got to the network and then they were like, oh, NXT, I've heard this is good. Oh, NXT, it is good. But the reality is, even then, it didn't have the numbers to truly warrant the deal that it got. It was 100%, if I remember correctly, WWE was pushing for the NXT deal simply to fuck with AEW. And
granted, which is why it was on Wednesdays.
Yeah, and granted, that has backfired. But at this point, there's no going back, because then it would be an absolute failure. So, I don't know. I'm still rooting for Ring of Honor, but I don't think it's going to be as easy a battle as a lot of us are hoping for it to be. But I'm hoping the hardcore fans come together, don't do what we're doing where you guys are going to be bumming off my Honor Club, but hopefully a bunch of people do get Honor Club and change the minds of a lot of execs.
I feel like people bumming each other's Honor Club logins is going to be like the old trading the VHS tapes.
Right, exactly. Absolutely.
It's like, man, I want to go watch an old Samoa Joe versus CM Punk match. Let me get your login real quick. All right, be sure to log out, though. You can only have like 6 things logged in at a time, man. All right. Well, that about wraps things up here on the Mark It Down podcast. I want to thank everybody for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. We have new episodes every week, or pretty much every week. We go live on Wednesdays after Dynamite, and hopefully we'll be getting back more into the groove of going live after Raw with Danny's Fast Forward, after Impact with the Gympact Zone, and after NXT with whatever Chad calls his NXT show. We also go live after pay-per-views as well, so you can check us out with all that stuff. So do all that. Check us out on social media as well. All of the links to our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok are in the description below, so you can keep up with us on all of those platforms as well. So for Chad Big Bad Johnson and James Gisante, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching. We will catch you here next time on the Mark It Down podcast. Have a good one, everyone.